DeMarvion Overshown on 1, 2, buckle my shoe. This man is the thing of nightmares. He taking on left tackles. Deshaun Watson is running for his ever-loving life. Good Lord.
Well, it's very clear to see. The pressures, the turnovers, none of that is going anywhere. Mike Zimmer's defense, and oh boy, watching film this week for the Cowboys defense was just chef's kiss. And we got a couple of guys that I really want to put the magnifying glass on this week, and it's going to be the linebackers for the Cowboys, because, ladies and gentlemen, that was our biggest bugaboo the last couple of seasons, to be quite frank. And I think that issue has been solved. Not only because of the talent that we have in those positions now, but the way that Mike Zimmer called this defense and the way he has these guys flying around the ball. The film. DeMarvion Overshown, DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Kalen Carson, Donovan Wilson, Eric Kendricks, Jonathan Phillips, Linval Joseph, Marshawn Nealon, Trevon Diggs. It seems like everybody that touched the field this past Sunday had an impactful play on film. And it was impressive to watch. So let's get into our film summary for the defense for week 1 for the Dallas Cowboys. First things first, one of the first things you're going to notice as you're watching film of the Cowboys, just the speed of DeMarvion Overshown jumps off of the tape. Not only that, but between him and Eric Kendricks, because that's something that I noticed, at least in this game. Remember, they said Mike Zimmer had like over 50 sets that he could run the defense out of, and he only showed like 2 of the sets in this game. One of his sets, and one of the things that he really likes to do, is when he has DeMarvion Overshown and Eric Kendricks as his linebackers, those are the times you're seeing a lot of that double A-gap mug, and you're seeing them either coming after the quarterback or they're dropping back. And I'm going to tell you right now, watching it on film is scary. I can only imagine what it's like for a quarterback having to process what's happening, what's going on in front of his face, who's actually going to be coming, who's dropping into coverage, and then how quickly DeMarvion Overshown and Eric Kendricks cover ground. How quickly they cover ground as they're dropping back into coverage is extremely impressive, and they get really good depth, but they don't get too deep to where they're taking themselves out of the play for the underneath throws. And oh my gosh, the linebackers to me just jumped off the film this week, and just how they were competing, how these guys were moving around the field, how you saw them getting in on pretty much every play. Eric Kendricks was around the ball essentially every single play that he was in the game. Maurice Liufau was kind of quiet this game. Really didn't see a whole bunch of Maurice Liufau on the film. This was honestly the DeMarvion Overshown show. Obviously, Micah Parsons is going to Micah Parsons. DeMarcus Lawrence was also just extremely impressive. But to me, the star of the defense, the star of the show this week were the linebackers and Mike Zimmer's scheme. Because Mike Zimmer's scheme, you could see how it was causing issues. It was giving Deshaun Watson hell, and Cowboys running out of that base nickel defense is excellent because you have your best football players on the field. J-Lou tackling out of that slot position, out of that slot corner spot. His tackling, his ability to keep plays in front of him is extremely valuable. And the way these guys are defending the run, there were times on film where you would see Linval Joseph and Jonathan Phillips in the game beside each other. And let me tell you this, if you plan on running up the middle and those two big men are on the field, you're going nowhere, because not only did they set a wall, but they did not give up any ground. So there were times when a running back would try to take it up the gut, and he just couldn't go anywhere. There was just a massive meat in front of him, and that would give plenty of time for either Linval to make a tackle or one of the linebackers to come in and make a tackle. And the way that we saw DeMarvion Overshown set the edge on one of those runs to the outside, long enough for Eric Kendricks to be able to shed a block and then get in there to make a tackle, is just, bro, I know I sound like I'm getting a little worked up talking about this, but man, watching the film, and I tried to give you guys a pretty nice cut up of plays here, because again, I'm not here to just break down one or two plays to you guys and talk to you about how a player is good or bad based off of me breaking down those one or two plays. I'm watching the film in its totality. The film overall is going to take about an hour and a half. It's about an hour and a half long, but if you're actually watching it to break it down, you're going to be rewinding and doing all that stuff. So I'm watching film for about 3 hours roughly. All right, I'm watching film about 3 hours roughly, and I'm giving you guys my film summary, just talking to you about what I saw on the film. I'll also giving you some raw plays to look at that kind of illustrate some of the things that I'm talking about. So if you actually go back and you watch what's happening while I'm talking you through all of this, you'll kind of see some of the things that I'm referring to here, even with your own eyes. And I think that's a really good way to do this, because it's just so much. There's so much that you need to see. And I'm not a football coach, and I'm not going to sit here and act like a football coach and draw up X's and O's and do all of that other stuff, guys. I'm going to just give you my overall thoughts of what I seen. And my overall thoughts of what I seen is Mike Zimmer is going to give opposing quarterbacks hell all year long, because I do not know how you deal with the overall speed of the linebackers, the speed and the physicality that these dudes are playing with, and just the passion that they're playing with. I mean, they're celebrating after tackles, and they're celebrating after setting the edge correctly on a run, or stringing out a run play long enough to where it's meeting to sideline, and there's just nowhere to go. And DeMarvion Overshown, I'm serious, DeMarvion Overshown to me was probably one of, if not the most impressive guys on film outside of the usual suspects, outside of the Micah Parsons, outside of like a DeMarcus Lawrence. As far as the newer guys on the team, DeMarvion Overshown and Eric Kendricks had a field day. Kalen Carson had an excellent day outside guarding Amari Cooper, man. You honestly couldn't have asked for a better showing from all of your rookies. You could not have asked for a better showing on the defensive side and on the offensive side of the ball, but this is the defense film session, so we're just going to talk about the defense. But the defensive side of the ball, Marshawn Nealon did an excellent job. Got in there with some quarterback pressures. I think he's like top 10 in the league in pressures right now, because he logged 6 of them joints against the Cleveland Browns. Kalen Carson did an excellent job on the outside, driving on the ball. He is going to get him a couple of pick sixes this season. Mark my words, okay? Kalen Carson, Maurice Littlefowl again, he was probably the most quiet rookie. He was probably the most quiet guy. As far as Mozzie goes, though, Mozzie wasn't a negative. I'll say that. He wasn't doing anything that was just necessarily like game-breaking or flashing or doing anything else like that. He just wasn't a negative, and I think that's a positive step for someone like a Mozzie Smith. But just overall, Mike Zimmer and his defense just really, really took over this entire game. Just the linebacking core. The linebacking core gives me more hope about this Dallas Cowboys team than anything else. If those guys can stay healthy, then I think this Cowboys defense is going to be a consistently imposing force on the other teams, man. I think that this team is going to be very dangerous, and I do not see them having that January, December type of lull that we saw those Dan Quinn defenses go into, because this defense is just set up better. The Cowboys are winning snaps before the ball is ever even snapped. That is the important part about what we saw on film, is the fact that the way the defense was being called, the position guys were being put in, what he was calling against what the Browns were running, man. The Cowboys are winning at times now before the ball is ever even snapped. And that right there, to me, is probably the biggest difference so far between Mike Zimmer and Dan Quinn, is Dan Quinn relied on the talent of his players to win plays, and Mike Zimmer relies on his scheme. And his scheme actually further accentuates what the players do, and it's just, oh my gosh. If you have time, watch the defense. Watch the film on the defense. Watch how many times you see DeMarvion Overshown making plays. Watch how he is in coverage. Even in coverage, he's Johnny on the spot and where he needs to be. But for the most part, the defense was on point. And the best part about that is Mike Zimmer ain't going for anything less than perfection, y'all. Mike Zimmer ain't playing no games. That is the best thing about that. But either way, how Them Cowboys, that was our film session for week 1. The linebackers were the highlighted portion of the defense this time, and we'll probably take a look at different position groups every week. Whatever we feel like is the most interesting matchup, the most interesting watch as far as film goes, that's what we're going to cover in our film summaries each week. We'll probably have film summaries on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and we'll kind of have that rotation going so you guys know what to expect. But either way, appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe for more Dallas Cowboys content. I'll see you guys.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Hey! I'm still them boys.